You're a useless woman who can't even earn money. You should obey me, or we can just get divorced." The moment I left my job, my husband hit me with that line. There was only one choice for me in response to him. "Fine, let's get divorced." "What? You'll regret it." My husband said, chuckling like he'd won. But the one who would end up regretting it would be him. When we crossed paths again after a long time, his face went pale at the sight of me. "Why? How did this happen?" "My name is Ellie, a 34-year-old office worker. I've been married to David for 2 years. We first met at a party. He's 2 years older than me, but still had a youthful and attractive air. He's a manager at a small to medium enterprise, so he has a stable income. The conversation flowed, and I found myself increasingly drawn to him. After that initial meeting, we exchanged contact information and went on several dates, eventually becoming a couple. During our relationship, he treated me with great care and was such a gentleman that I found myself more and more attracted to him. After a year, he proposed, and we got married. I was thrilled to marry the man I loved so much. But once our married life started, reality fell short of the dream. The man who had been so sweet while dating slowly became more and more critical. "Hey, there's a wrinkle on this shirt. Didn't you iron it properly?" "Ah, sorry about that. I didn't think it was that bad, and I've been pretty busy." "Don't mess around. Skipping chores is unacceptable. Stop being so lazy." He often had this confrontational attitude. I was too shocked to respond at that moment, but later realized how unreasonable he had been. I'm also working every day and busy, yet he doesn't help with any housework. Complaining like that is just too much. If it bothers him that much, he could do the ironing himself. On his days off, he's just loafing around at home, engrossed in TV or mobile games. I could iron my clothes myself, but mentioning that would definitely make my husband furious. And that would make things even more complicated later. Whenever my husband disagrees with something, he gets mad and sulks for the rest of the day. Even if I try to talk to him, he ignores me and clearly shows he's irritated. The atmosphere at home becomes unbearable, and I just want to hide in my room. But doing that would just lead to more nagging from him later on. "Do you even care about our communication as a couple? You always run away, and that's why you're not growing. You probably approach your job the same way, don't you?" My husband lashes out with harsh words when he's angry. Why do I have to be treated like this? I was getting increasingly frustrated until one day, I just exploded. The trigger was something my husband said during dinner. "Why can't you add some variety to your cooking? Ellie, your meals are just lazy." That comment was the last straw. Unbelievable. I never thought he would say something like that. That day, I was so fed up that I hastily packed some stuff and stormed out. "Hey, where are you going?" My husband yelled, but I ignored him and left. I stayed at my parents' house for a few days. During that time, I received numerous calls and messages from my husband. All were along the lines of, "Where are you?" and "Come back now," or "I'll forgive you if you come back now." Clearly, he didn't think he was in the wrong. I started to think that maybe divorce was the only option left. We'd been married for 2 years, but his attitude was getting worse by the day. I felt like I was nearing my limit. I didn't want to resort to divorce that easily. In any marriage, both spouses are different people with different values. Understanding and embracing those differences is essential. That's how I felt, but I was starting to think that some people just can't be compatible. So I had a feeling that things might not improve between us in the future. However, amid all this, something unexpected happened. Wait, I'm pregnant? Yes, congratulations. I was feeling sick because of the stress from my marriage, or so I thought. But when I went to the hospital, they told me I was pregnant. This unforeseen event left me bewildered. Of course, I'm thrilled to have a child. Keeping the child's father in the loop is my next step. We need to figure out what to do next. Can we really go back to being a couple and raise this child together? So many things raced through my mind. My job, our future. It was overwhelming. But I knew I had to tell him as soon as possible. Despite my worries, I went back to the house we used to share. Ellie, you're finally back. Leaving the house for so long, you think you can slack off. You'll do all the housework from now on. I'm not letting you go to work until this place is spotless. My husband uttered these words as if it was his divine right. But keeping him happy wasn't my goal today. I came back because we need to talk. Talk? Spit it out. He looked down on me, so I got straight to the point. It looks like I'm pregnant. What? His eyes widened in surprise. I said I'm pregnant, and it's yours. Seriously? Are you really pregnant? He kept pressing, but in a tone of astonishment this time. Yes, I am. The doctor confirmed it. I see. After a moment's thought, he spoke. Thank you, Ellie. What? I'm happy you're pregnant. It's our child. Let's raise it with care. What? His sudden shift in attitude left me puzzled. Where did his anger go? My husband wasn't angry anymore. In fact, he was smiling. You should have told me sooner. I came as soon as I found out. Good, then quit your job and focus on housework and the baby. Quit my job? Yeah, it'll be tough to manage, right? I plan to work as long as I can. Well, it'll put a strain on you. Even if you don't quit, at least take maternity and paternity leave. I just want both the child and you to be healthy. Suddenly, my husband seemed concerned for me. What's going on here? I'll take care of work, Ellie. You just focus on resting at home. He said it without a hint of animosity this time. I'll take maternity leave if I start feeling too unwell. I didn't want to separate our child from its father, so I decided to return home for now. It seems my husband is genuinely thrilled about the baby. Maybe that's why his attitude toward me has changed. After I moved back in, he started treating me really well. Smells from cooking might be tough for you now. Don't stress about it. Thank you. He even took care of the laundry and cleaning on his days off. I was surprised how much he'd changed. Maybe this was his true character all along. As I got more pregnant and started feeling unwell, I went on maternity leave. Why not go to your parents' house for the birth? It might be easier for you mentally. Are you sure? You'll have to do all the chores. Don't worry, I've lived alone for a long time. He said with a smile, so I took him up on the offer and moved in with my parents. Being around family made me feel safe, and my mom took care of the household chores. After about a month, I stopped by our apartment after some shopping with my mom. I needed to pick up some things I'd forgotten and thought would make my life easier. But something felt off as soon as I stepped inside. The house was spotless. Not like no one had been there, but like it had been diligently cleaned. Honestly, my husband's previous cleaning efforts were rather sloppy. I couldn't imagine him being this thorough. The fridge was also fully stocked. We've got plenty of vegetables and meat. Plus, the meat is even portioned out and frozen. He usually only drank coffee and alcohol, but there were milk, iced tea, and juice. Even yogurt and ice cream, as if someone else was living there. Maybe he hired a maid, my mom suggested, but that wouldn't explain the variety of drinks and snacks. And he doesn't even like juice. I couldn't imagine the housekeeper would prepare something like that just for themselves to drink. So my mind went to a darker place. What if my husband was having an affair while I was away giving birth to our child? The thought was gnawing at me, and I couldn't shake it off. I didn't want my stress to affect the baby, so I decided to hire a private investigator to look into my husband's activities. A few weeks later, the results came in. Sure enough, my husband was having an affair. I was utterly shocked when I found out who it was. It turned out to be my own coworker. Betty and I had started working together at the same time, and we were like comrades in arms. I used to confide in her about everything, including issues with my husband. She'd even been to our wedding, and sometimes she'd come over for dinner with us. So they must have started their affair somewhere along the line. I thought maybe that's why my husband had grown distant. He was getting closer to Betty. I'd even talked to Betty about how distant he was. And now I realize she must have been laughing at me the whole time. She probably thought I was a clueless woman, struggling in vain. When I found out, I was beyond furious. I couldn't work at that company anymore. Of course, I planned to take revenge, but I also decided to quit my job. I then informed my boss that I would be resigning after my maternity leave. I explained the reason up front, but also asked to keep it confidential for now. Then, my husband called. Hey, what's going on? Is it true you're quitting your job, Ellie? Yes, why? How did you find out when I haven't told you? What? Oh, no, I heard about it. From who? From Betty. She was surprised and reached out to ask me. I was shocked too because I had no idea. Why did you quit on your own? Wait, didn't you suggest that I should quit? That's why I did. Why didn't you tell me in advance? I'm angry that you made this decision without me. How dare you, as my wife? I'm sorry I made the decision without consulting you, but do you have to get this angry? Also, as my wife? I think a marriage should be an equal partnership. Shut up! A useless woman who can't earn money should obey me, If you don't like it, let's get divorced. Divorce? Yeah, you'll be financially dependent on me. You should serve me like a housekeeper and don't complain. That's what my husband said as soon as he found out I'd resigned. I had only one option left. Fine, let's get divorced. What? You'll regret this, ha ha ha. My husband laughed in a way that sounded triumphant. But the one who would regret it was my husband. Let's talk about the divorce after I've calmed down a bit. I'm going to have a baby soon. Alright, fine, haha. But don't come crying back to me, begging for forgiveness later, haha. My husband hung up after saying that. Who would beg, anyway? A week later, I went into labor and headed to the hospital with my mom. I successfully gave birth to a healthy baby girl. Holding my adorable daughter, who was like an angel, I resolved to protect her myself, no matter what. I returned to my parents' house and hired a lawyer to proceed with a divorce. Then I reached out to my husband to have a discussion. He agreed right away, so we scheduled a time to meet at a cafe. Meeting my husband after making the decision to divorce was about 3 weeks in the making. A lot had happened in between. I gave birth, moved forward with the divorce with my lawyer, and I had taken one more significant step. My husband must be panicking by now. On the day of our discussion, I headed to the cafe. When I finally met up with my husband, he looked absolutely pale. Ellie, what's this legal notice? Not even a greeting, and he interrogated me like that? Yes, I had sent a legal notice to my husband and his affair partner Betty, demanding compensation for the affair. I sent it to 3 places: his workplace, his parents' house, and Betty's workplace. So the affair had become known to my in-laws, his coworkers, and essentially my own colleagues. Because of that legal notice, everyone is giving me the cold shoulder. Betty too had quit her job because she couldn't handle the looks. Well, that's your responsibility, isn't it? Don't joke with me. The one joking is you. You had an affair behind my back, and were planning to get divorced without telling me. Well, that's... Did you change your attitude towards me because you were having an affair? And when you found out I was pregnant, things seemed pretty convenient for you, right? You could suggest I give birth in my hometown, and if you pressured me enough to lead to a divorce, you could be with Betty. Unfortunately for you, doing bad things never ends well. They fall apart eventually. In your case, you just couldn't keep it hidden. As I told him that I noticed something strange when I returned to our home once during my hometown stay, he looked even more distressed. Clearly, he'd been living with Betty, as if they were cohabiting at the time. I'm definitely divorcing you and claiming alimony and child support. Hold on, that would ruin me. I was planning to remarry with her. Go ahead, but only after you've paid me alimony and child support. But then I'll be broke. If you don't comply, I'm taking this to court. Court? Exactly. I intend to take everything I can. Don't think I'm just going to sit back. Why has it come to this? My husband's face grew even paler. Eventually, he decided he didn't want a legal battle and agreed to the divorce. He listened to the lawyer I had brought with me explain the details about the alimony. Since our child is just born, child support is going to be high. Furthermore, I'm claiming $30,000 in alimony, so my husband is in for a long road of debt. We finalized the divorce smoothly, and I received the alimony from Betty and my ex-husband. For child support, they'll make monthly payments, and if they fall behind, my lawyer will handle wage garnishment. Later, my boss contacted me and offered me my job back. With Betty out of the picture, there was no reason for me not to return to a job I enjoyed. Being a single mom, having a job is extremely helpful. Now, I'm diligently working while raising my daughter, supported by my parents at home. As for my ex-husband, it seems things didn't work out with a mentally distressed Betty, and they broke up. On top of that, he's been disowned by his family and is now enduring a miserable life of going to work while most of his salary goes to paying off his debts. Well, he brought it upon himself. Serves him right. On the other hand, my life is joyful, watching my daughter grow remarkably fast each day with the support of my parents. I plan to continue cherishing my daughter while working hard for a fulfilling life.